Who? Jesus. Young upstart. He caused a lot of trouble, he did. Threatened to ruin everything for us priests. He made life incredibly difficult. Went around teaching and preaching stuff which is at odds with the way we've always done things. For one, he was a troublemaker. That's what he was. People claim he did miracles, blah, blah, blah. I didn't see any miracles. He just kept confusing people. He was a blasphemer. That's what he was. A blasphemer. And you know what? Blasphemers always get what they deserve in the end. That's what happens. You tell me. How did he die? That's right. He died on a cross. Cross of a common criminal. Just as a blasphemer deserves. Son of God. All this talk about him being the Son of God. You can pretty much ignore everything he said. Jesus? Yeah. Look, I didn't really know him, but I'm grateful for him in a way that most people aren't. See, I was a bit of a rebel, and guys like me, we staged a revolt against Rome. Well, we were pretty foolish to think we could beat Rome, and we got smacked down pretty hard. And I was arrested and tried, and rightfully so, I guess, lined up for crucifixion, be executed. So all the other guys who got caught. Anyway, there we were in Pilate's court one day, and this Jesus had been arrested as well, and he stood there with us before the crowd, and hang on a sec. Yeah, and we stood there before the crowd, and and one of Pilate's things was this time of year he releases one prisoner, at the request of the crowd, and so he goes to the crowd, and after he's mocked this Jesus, he says to the crowd, do you want me to release the King of the Jews? And they're all like, no. And to my surprise, I was absolutely stunned. They all start shouting out, release Barabbas! And not my mates in the crowd, the religious elite. They're the ones who've been saying it. Couldn't believe it. And I thought, no, this has got to be some sick kind of joke, There's no way Pilate's going to release me. I've just murdered people. But, as the crowd whipped up a little bit, and they kept shouting my name. And Pilate said in his own words, he said, well, this Jesus has done nothing wrong. He doesn't deserve death. Well, but the crowd just got more and more into a frenzy and just kept shouting out, release Barabbas! And so, long story short, they did. They released me. Jesus went off to be flogged and crucified. I should have lost everything, but instead he did. To say I'm devastated is really an understatement. I left everything to follow Jesus. After he was arrested, though, I blew everything in 3 terrible moments. Sitting there, and someone said, hey, you were with that Jesus fella, weren't you? I said, no, you must be mistaken. You mistaken me for someone else. And then it happened a second time. I said, mate, you were travelling with Jesus, weren't you? I said, no, I wasn't. And if that wasn't enough, it happened a third time, just like Jesus warned me that it would. Someone said, hey, everyone, this guy was hanging out with Jesus. He was one of his guys. And I said, no, not me. You must have me mistaken or something. Not me. And then I heard the rooster crow, just like Jesus said it would. No, I've blown everything. My friend, the Son of God, he's been crucified. And now he's dead. I too followed Jesus. I I too gave up everything to do so. I found purpose, I found meaning. Somewhere along the way, I lost touch. I was placed in charge of the funds and I lost my focus. It became all about the money. I guess I've always been all about the money. Money was always been everything to me. I can't put my finger on a moment when my faith wavered and faded. It shouldn't have, with all the things I'd witnessed Jesus do and the things he said. I was right there in the middle of it. But it did. It faded and it wavered. And in the end, 30 pieces of silver called louder than my devotion. I sold out Jesus for 30 pieces of lousy silver. My shame is too great to bear. I've lost everything. I'm sorry. Yeah, g'day. I'm Abner. Everyone knows that Jesus was my nephew. He was a pretty special lad, or we knew there was something very different about him from an early age. He used to help me out on the farm a lot, but Joseph and Mary knew there was something special about him before he was born, or actually just after conception, truth be told. But he was a child like no other. His passion for God was just unmatchable. His wisdom developed really early. You know, he would stun the wisest and the smartest teachers of the law. There was a pretty funny incident when we left him behind at the temple one weekend. We were all there, and the whole family left in our caravan. And hey, where's Jesus? Anyone know where Jesus is? No, left him behind. Left him at the temple. There you go. But well, we knew a day, you know, like all kids, you know the days coming when they leave home, and none of us were in the whole the wider household were prepared. As you never are when the kid leaves home. But his leaving was really different. He went out and he poured himself out for people far and wide, and he did some amazing things. He told us several times that, you know, he was leaving. But he went out and he did some amazing things. He said some incredible things. And the things he said drew a crowd. The things he did, miracles, well, let's call them miracles. The miracles he did drew a bigger crowd. But you know, my nephew, he also made some enemies. Some very powerful enemies. Now he's dead. Yeah. He was everything to me. They took him. Hi, my name's Fishel. Most people just know me as that rich young ruler guy. I was born into wealth. I've known wealth and comfort my whole life so far. And a little while back, I had an interaction with Jesus. I had an incident where I met him. I ran up to him and I asked him, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And he said, do you know the commandments? And he listed a few off, and I said, yeah, I've followed these since I was a little kid. And he said, he hit me with this one. He said, "One thing you lack. Go sell all your possessions, give it to the poor, then you'll have treasures in heaven, and then come follow me." And I thought of the vastness of my wealth, and I was really sad because, well, I just wasn't willing to part with it. Since then, I've stewed on that every day, every night. I've lost sleep over it. And just when I thought I might be able to do it, that I could part with everything. Jesus is killed. There's no one to follow now. Hey, my name is Cassius. I'm just an ordinary soldier in the service of Rome. I was part of the crucifixion party today. I was going to be charged with nailing Jesus and a few others to their crosses, and that's what we do with criminals. It's brutal, it's horrible, but it's a pretty good deterrent against crime. That's what we do in Rome. Everybody knows that if you cross Rome, it costs you everything. Well, as the group finally made its way through the city streets and came to Golgotha, the hill that looks like a skull, there was a massive crowd, and we thought, hey, hang on, this is not going to be like one of your standard crucifixion days. We were prepared for trouble. We had our swords. We brought in some extra guards for a little bit of help, just in case things got out of hand. But interestingly, as we nailed Jesus to the cross, and as the cross thumped into the ground, people started mocking him, and it was the religious blokes who were mocking him. They're like, "King of the Jews!" Yeah, we nailed a sign above his head that said "King of the Jews," and that too was in mockery. And I mocked him too. I had a sponge filled with sour wine. I kind of just got on a pole and smacked him in the face with it a bit, and we were laughing and carrying on. And but they were going, you saved others. Why can't you save yourself? And we thought it was pretty funny, so we kind of joined in with all of that. And we're mocking him. And then we decided to gamble amongst us, the soldiers, to gamble for his clothes. We started rolling dice and see who could win his clothes. There wasn't much to win, but it's a bit of fun. That's kind of what we did. But this is the moment where everything changed for me. As we gambled, Jesus looked up toward the sky and he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." I thought, what? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. How does a guy who we've just nailed to a cross, who's been crucified, who's surely going to die at our hand, how does he say, "Father, forgive them"? Wow. Well, I watched Jesus pretty intently from that moment on, and some of the others just kept gambling and whatever, but eventually he uttered the words, "It is finished." It is finished. I don't really know what he's talking about, but what happened next was incredible. It caused an enormous chaos, to say the least. As he said those words and he breathed his last, the earth all around us shook violently, like really violently, and the sun went black, like not gradually as it does every few years kind of thing. This happened really suddenly, and it lasted for 3 hours. The sun was black for 3 hours. The earth shook. Someone said some damage happened in the temple. But all I could think was, looking at this guy who we'd just hung on a cross, the words escaped my lips almost involuntarily. I said, surely this was the Son of God. Everything. At the time of Jesus' death, confusion reigned. How could this happen? How could the Messiah be dead? The man we had walked with for 3 years, the man whose heart was more tender and kind than any other, the man who had healed many, who had restored many, who even forgave many. How could he be dead? Everything we had hoped for had disappeared. Was nothing changed? Was it all for nothing? Were we deluded, misled, lied to? But at that time, we had no idea that on the third day, everything would be different. We didn't know that Jesus had paid the price for our sin with his own blood. We didn't know then that he would defeat even death itself and that he would rise from the grave. We didn't know that this was the most pivotal point in all history when everything was changed. Everything.